Hey there, it's Mitzi. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm sharing all about January, my favorite things, and the books that I read. So I'm going to share my books, but y'all, I have some exciting news first. So I am just a super proud mama, so bear with me for just a few minutes so I can brag on Elijah, my 19-year-old. Well, he'll actually be 20 March 2nd. His birthday, he shares the birthday with Dr. Seuss, actually. He was born on Dr. Seuss's 100th birthday, so you can keep up with Dr. Seuss, how old Dr. Seuss is with Elijah, because Elijah will be 20, so that means Dr. Seuss would have been 120 this year. So anyway, Elijah will be 20 on March 2nd, but he's 19 at the moment, and I call him a 19-year-old as long as I can, you know what I mean? So anyway, Elijah is a guitarist, and he taught himself to play the guitar. And he plays acoustic, he plays bass, but his specialty is the electric guitar. He has all the pedals. Anyway, since that time, God has just worked it out, because he has been a part of a wonderful youth group at our church. But what happened was Elijah and the other band members, Josh, our worship leader, and Jacob, our youth pastor, they've been getting together. They've been writing songs and things. And then they asked Elijah to write some of the guitar parts and things. So this has taken a long time. And I say all that to say, I was going down the road and the song came on the radio. Seriously, it came on the radio. So they had approached our local Christian radio station and asked if they would play their newest release, which is called A Fresh Hallelujah. And so they did. And I was so excited. You know, my husband and I are just riding down the road and it starts, and the very first part, I hear Elijah on that guitar, because I know what he sounds like because I hear him constantly. I mean, the boy plays that guitar 24/7. So I knew it was him, and I was like, that's my child. That's my 19-year-old playing on the radio. And so that's my exciting news. He has a new release, and it played on the radio. And so the CHC Worship is what they're called. I will leave a link below to the video of the band. And so Elijah is the kid with the cap, and he has a blue guitar. Hopefully you'll be able to take a little time and watch that. It's just a couple of minutes, and celebrate with me this exciting news. So anyway, if you get a chance, I'll leave a link to that below. Okay, so here are the things that I read during the month of January. The first one I read is The Mystery at Lilac Inn. This was for my Let's Read Nancy read-along that I am hosting over on Voxer. Again, you can always join us by emailing me, so let me know if you want to hop in. You don't have to read these in order, so you can hop in at any time. But this is number 4, and this is a favorite. I really loved this. This was over the top. It really was. There were explosions and almost drowning and missing jewelry, and it was just super fun. I found this to be probably my favorite so far, so I really enjoyed that. And then I read The Willows in Winter. This is a sequel to The Wind and the Willows. Now, it's not, it's written by someone else. William Horwood wrote this, and apparently William Horwood loves The Wind and the Willows, and so he has, I think there's 4 books in this series, and this is the first one. I enjoyed this a lot, but it's not The Wind and the Willows. It does have that feel to it, though. So if you do enjoy The Wind and the Willows, this one, the story revolves around Toad. And I love Toad. He's one of my favorite characters of all time. So I did love that about it. However, there were some parts in it with Toad that I didn't appreciate. So that brought it down just a little bit, but I still gave it 4 stars because I enjoyed the feel of this book, feeling so much like The Wind and the Willows. So he did a great job of his voice sounding similar, not exactly, but similar to The Wind and the Willows. So I did enjoy this, and I do recommend it if you're a Wind and the Willows fan. And if you read it, let me know, because I'd like to talk to you about it and see what you thought too. I finally got to Julie by Catherine Marshall. I had this down for Historathon in November, and then Millie died, my dog Millie. Y'all, I have had a struggle with that. I mean, I I know I cried every day for 2 months straight, and I still cry, not every day. And I'll tell my husband, okay, I was pretty good today, and then I'll start crying. So it's just a struggle. I never knew that that little puppy would mean so much to me. But she was just here for 15 years, and it was, you know, everybody else was doing their thing. And so anyway, I say all that to say, during November, I didn't read the things that I had planned on reading. So this was one I wanted to read for Historathon, because this takes place, I think it's the 1920s. Yeah, I think it's the late 1920s, early 1930s. So this one is about Julie, who her family moves, and her dad was a pastor, but because of some issues in the church with the congregation disagreeing with his methods, he ends up resigning, and he becomes this editor of a newspaper in a small town. And she works on the newspaper because she wants to be a journalist. So I found that to be fascinating. I really enjoyed this. By the way, if you don't know who Catherine Marshall is, she wrote Christie, which is one of my all-time favorite books. And so, of course, I was comparing it to Christie throughout. This was a really good book. I enjoyed it, but it's not Christie. For me, I don't know, it was like, by the end of it, I loved the characters. I enjoyed what happened. It's a lot more action-packed to me than Christie is, but it was surface level. I just didn't feel like I knew Julie deep enough. Now, Christie, that book just reached way down in me. I mean, I remember just being like overwhelmed with emotion when I would read that book because of the connection. So I guess I expected that and I didn't get it. However, I did enjoy this one. This one revolves around her sort of coming to age. It's a coming of age story. She is in high school, and it's about making choices in high school, succumbing to peer pressure, that kind of thing. And also there are 3 different guys who are interested in her, and there's a little bit of, you know, which one will she pick kind of thing. Which one will she fall for in the book? So that was interesting too, but I didn't like how that ended either. But again, it was a great read. I loved the book. I wish I would have read this first before I read Christie, because I think I'm comparing it way too much to Christie. But I do recommend this if you enjoy historical fiction and fiction that's written based on the late 1920s, early 1930s. You may enjoy this one. Again, it's Christian historical fiction. Now, this one I really enjoyed, and I tabbed several things in this one as I was going. There were some things I noticed. This is by Kate Morton. This is an older book, The Clockmaker's Daughter. And I read this one because I pre-ordered The Homecoming by Kate Morton. And so I don't want to read that one until I read the couple of books that I still have left of hers to read, because I'm like, I still have some Kate Morton that I haven't read. Well, this was one of them. I really enjoyed this book. This one had such a mystery. There are a lot of different characters. It's a lot to keep up with, but it was fast-paced. Sometimes her books to me are slower, and you may think it's slower, but I like a little slower, take my time to get into. But this one seemed a little more fast-paced to me than the others did. And I think it's because there was this mystery involving several people within this story. And it's about a girl. Well, there's like 3 different timelines, so that makes it kind of hard too. I'm trying to see. 1862 is the main timeline I was interested in, because in that one there is this mysterious death. And then we have 50 years later. I'm trying to see. I know there was another. I'm not sure what year the other one was. Oh, today. The other one was today. So we have several timelines going on in this book. And the way Kate Morton writes is she gives you little snippets, breadcrumbs along the way, and then she ties it together. Sort of like Charles Dickens. You have to be patient till you get there, and then everything comes together. So I did like that about it. There was one thing that I wasn't sure about, because one of the point of view characters, as I was reading it, I was a little confused, and then I realized it was a ghost. It was the person who had died at this manor was telling her story. And so I wasn't too sure about that, but the way that it was presented, it ended up being fine for me, and I really enjoyed her story the best. She ended up being my favorite character in the story because she could look at it, you know, from a different point of view and see the different people coming into the house. So she was there in the present, seeing the things going on, as well as telling that story from the past, so that you could figure out the mystery behind this house and what took place there. And it is a mystery. And at the end, I really liked the way that it came together. I really enjoyed this one. One of the things I enjoyed too about it was there were nods in it. The 1800s, she talks about Charles Dickens. She also talks about the woman in white. There's a mysterious woman in white. And then right after she talks about that, there is this missing jewelry and this whole legend behind this jewelry. And so I thought, okay, the Moonstone by Wilkie Collins and the Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. There were several things like that in here. And so I'm noticing that she does these little nods to different books, literature, and things. And I think most of these little tabs were talking about that. Little nods to different books were all through here. And I had actually read these books, so I really saw how she was using those books to kind of bring in sort of a gothic suspenseful element to the story. So I really like that about the story too. But my favorite book for January is A Distant Melody by Sarah Sundin. I love this book. I've already ordered the second one. This was so good. And I always say I don't like romance. Well, I do. Because if you give me this kind of romance, I'll read it all day long. So I am ready for it, Sarah Sundin. Give me more of these. I love this book. And if you like historical fiction, romance, and World War II, pick this up. I really loved that the main character in this was a pilot. I loved that part of it. I loved the strong female character in this story. And I especially loved that they're attracted to each other, of course, but it's a forming a friendship. They become best of friends over a short period of time. And then during the war, they are separated, so they write to each other. And they become more and more, you know, they get to know each other more and more, and they fall in love through the process of these letters. So it's more about a deeper connection. And that's what I loved about it. It's not this chemistry, you know, I'm attracted to you, you know, that kind of thing. It's deeper than that. Much deeper, more of a long-lasting relationship. You know that these people are connected and will be in love for the rest of their lives. That kind of story. And I just could not stop reading. It's over 400 pages. And so I thought, well, I'll just take my time. No, I couldn't. I could not put it down. And I read this almost in one day, but I had to go to sleep. And so I waited till I had my other things done. And that night, I was chomping at the bit to get in the bed to finish this, because this was my nighttime read for those 2 days. And I was sad when it was over. Loved this. Highly recommend if you enjoy World War II historical fiction, Christian historical fiction, romance. This was fantastic, and I can't wait to continue. I think there's 3 books in this series. So whoever told me about Sarah Sundin, thank you for the recommendation, because I loved it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the comments and the encouragement and support that you give me every time I come on here and post. I just love chatting with you. So let me know if you've read any of these, and we'll chat in the comments about these and other exciting things that you may have had take place during the month of January. Let me know. Let me know. I want to know about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.